Hey everybody, it's Master Galengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Supernatural, Profit and Loss. And this was a decent episode. The issue comes into effect of usual typical Supernatural things that happen in that there are two competing storylines here, and it's like two horses and you only have one ass. You're trying to ride them both, but both horses kind of get screwed over here. Now, since the two competing storylines were pretty much Sam and Dean and what was going on with the coffin and Profits versus Nick. Nick's storyline doesn't, from what we've seen so far, need that much screen time. We kind of get it, but it's more of how they're trying to get the fact of, oh yeah, don't you see his time with Lucifer has really screwed him up? And I understand the whole show don't tell kind of thing, but when you keep kind of seeing these kind of things going on, it's like, okay, we kind of get it. Move it forward a little bit. It's kind of in a stuck wheel kind of scenario. Granted, we got some interesting movement on it, but I think that came at the expense of the whole Sam, Dean, and Profit storyline that was going on as well. That would have been cool to just have more digging into that scenario and how that could connect to everything else going on. So, let's get Nick's part out of the way first. Those scenes there wasn't really that much connective tissue. It would suddenly, we were doing the interesting stuff with Sam and Dean, and then we would pop over to Nick and we see him in the hospital, lamenting the fact about Lucifer and all that kind of stuff while a cop is being mean to him, and he is able to trick the cop into getting into a compromised position, and he just beats the shit out of him. Doesn't kill him, though. I mean, he doesn't look in good condition, but he was kind of breathing at the end, and he is in a hospital, so we'll have to kind of see. But he is able to get out. I don't know how much time has passed, but he was shot in the foot. Now, granted, he is walking with a limp, but he's moving around pretty good for being shot in the foot. Now, granted, his body has been morphed and everything to be the perfect kind of vessel and cage for Lucifer, so there could be things in there, but we kind of need that explained or showed a little bit better. But he goes off, and he goes to his old house. He's still trying to look around for Lucifer, and he confronts the ghost of his wife, and she says, hey, the only thing that I need for unfinished business is for you to renounce Lucifer. And he can't. He has grown to need Lucifer and says that he's just going to go into like the darkest places and try and find him. And it's like, okay, so this is going to be more of an active thing. Interesting, but as we get further and further along, it's less apparent how connected this is going to be back into what's going on now, main story-wise. I'm not saying that it can't be, but they need to work a little bit better on connecting that, because it's like, okay, this is interesting, but the main conflict at the moment is Michael. And granted, I'm glad that they just didn't shove him off in the corner, but now he's just kind of moving into the corner to find Lucifer more than anything. So we'll kind of have to see how that goes. And she's shocked that he wouldn't allow her to move on, but I wouldn't expect anything less from his character at this point, from what they've been showing us. So, yeah, Nick's kind of fucked up. So, that's where we're left off with that. We still haven't seen any movement in the nothingness in regards to Lucifer's resurrection and how he could potentially come back, but this is pretty much saying he's coming back, or some kind of form or whatnot's going to be coming back, so we'll see how that somehow gets thrown into this mix. The bulk of this episode is Sam and Dean and their contention with Dean's plan to go through with this whole coffin bit. They're pretty much having fights of how to deal with this. Of course, Dean is kind of reminiscing about everything, about how his dad was trying to apologize to Sam for how he raised him, but Sam's like, no, you raised me very well. You've got nothing to apologize for. And, of course, this just goes into how each character views themselves and how they view each other. Whereas Sam never really had any animosity towards Dean. He kind of had to understand and grow that Dean was doing the best that he could since their father was so obsessed with hunting the Yellow Eyes demon that he had to pick up the slack and everything. And of course, Sam isn't liking this and doesn't want this whole death thing to keep going on. So he's like, can we drop it? And I really liked how they were able to get that interaction throughout this whole episode. So, as that's going on, we see that this dude is ritualistically murdering people. First, it starts out with this girl, and it's really kind of strange. He's got her tied up. He's pouring, like, this salt in this water, stirring it up, and then, like, puts her in, slashes one of her arms, gets the water red, and then drowns her in. It's like, huh, this is weird, while he's quoting stuff from the Bible and all that. It keeps going on as the brothers are driving to get to the Pacific Ocean, and another dude is killed. And he's not killed in the same way, but it's like, he's quoting stuff about Firstborn and all that. Well, of course, it pops up, and he's like, well, looks like we kind of have a case. And Dean's like, oh yeah, the last case of the Winchester brothers. Sam, of course, is met with this, and they continue on to go into the case. And they find out that it's like Enochian writing that's been left on these bodies and all that. They go to the brother of the second victim and find out that they're twins and that he was older by about 4 minutes, and that they had a friend that was really into it, Tony Alvarez, and he has Enochian on his arm tattooed, as they see in a picture. They of course call Cass to kind of get the lowdown, and of course while they were going onto this trip, Sam checked in with Cass, and Dean hasn't told anybody else, but Sam, of course, gave the lowdown to Cass as Cass is trying to figure out any kind of way to stop this from going forward with the whole coffin idea. And once they get in contact with Cass, Dean figures it out, and Cass is like, oh, I'm so glad that you're not doing this. I'm like, yeah, I'm still going through this. We just need your help. Tony Alvarez, ring a bell? He's like, yeah, he's one of the prophets that are in line, like in waiting. He's like, well, he's going kind of crazy and killing people, so we kind of have to figure out what's going on with that. They are able to get through and figure out, they get a bead on him. He's pretty much going on for a third victim, and he's about to, like, set somebody on fire. And they're really kind of trying to figure out, how is this kind of going on? Why is this happening? And they bring up Donatello. And, of course, Donatello was really messed up. Well, let's see. He didn't have a soul, because Amar ate that. And then he got brain screwed over by Asmodeus. And then in order to kind of break it and kind of stop him from doing even worse things, Cass kind of like broke his mind. So he's been in a vegetative state ever since. So everyone's like, okay, that's kind of weird, but they're able to get to Tony. They stop what's going on, but of course, as we see that Tony was doing the previous murders, he was hearing some kind of voice, and of course, Sam and Dean are like, you're not hearing God. We don't know what you're hearing, and he's freaked out about this, and he's able to get Dean's gun, but instead uses it on himself and kills himself. This, of course, presents a very great problem. If these prophets are being corrupted, this could lead to a bigger host of issues, so they decide to go to Donatello to figure out what's going on. They get there, and Cass, of course, is there. Dean and Cass have a moment, and they're like, listen, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to see what's going on, and deal with this. And he's pissed off at Dean for going through with the coffin plan, but they go in, and they actually find out that Donatello has been talking, and his mind's kind of trying to reboot. So Cass is like, if there's any glimmer of hope, I gotta try and fix this. Of course, they go out, and Dean has to come to the, well, come to the place of like, okay, if there's hope, let's kind of go with this, but he doesn't have hope for himself. Of course, Sam's kind of pissed off about that, and they're able to get in there. Cass is able to fix his mind, and he's good, and he's like, hey, yeah. He's eating Jello and everything, but he's like, yeah, I'd like some crunchy buffalo wings or whatnot. I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool to have him back. Of course, Sam is out at the car drinking beer, and he's like, "You don't have any hope for yourself. What the hell, man? I thought it was us together. Family and all that." He punches Dean, and he's like, "Fine, all right. We're going to try and find a way, but you got to promise me this. If you promise me that you will do then what you can't do now." And Cass, of course, likes that up. He's like, "All right, we're going to try this. We're going to do this together and try and find a way." It was a good bonding moment for all three of them and really brings Cass more into the kind of brotherish role that he has had. But the only thing is, this reminds me a lot of what was going on with the Mark of Cain scenario. Now, granted, the Mark of Cain would have just had Dean going on a murderous rampage instead of up-leveling this, but it's just we see the shifting of the different roles, and I don't mind that, but it's like, okay, we had Sam doing the trials, ready to die for that, and Dean takes that choice away from him for him to pass away peacefully, going out with his boots on in the next season. Now we've got the whole Mark of Cain and Dean turning into a demon, and then killing Death and having the mark removed, and the whole darkness scenario. I don't mind that we had these things and we're able to see the brothers in their different roles and how they react to these things, because they usually, it's cool to kind of see that. It's just, there needs to be an end game scenario here. That's more of the whole structural problem of the show than anything. It just needs to get to some end game scenario where we're getting to some kind of journey end. It's alright per season to keep going on, but when you're going like, okay, should we connect this season, or should these seasons be almost similar to like American Horror Story, where each season's kind of a little bit different? You've got the same kind of players involved, but each thing is kind of like a new world or whatnot. That would be an interesting thing to go on, but we'll have to see how they end this out, but I don't know. This season has been really weird for the writers. They have gone more off the reservation than usual with the way they've done certain things. Now, they could be trying to course correct on certain issues, but I don't see that happening very effectively. I mean, when I look back and I'm going, yeah, I didn't like season 7 that much, but I will take dick jokes over what's kind of going on here. Because it just seems to be like, we've got so many plates now that are in motion, and I'm like, focus on one, do it really well, lay the seeds, continue forward, get to a kind of cool conclusion. So hopefully they can do that. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.